Hi, I'm American Johnson, this is Non-Compete. Recently, a pretty cool person died. He was a YouTuber and his name was Michael Brooks, and I really didn't know him. To be honest, I didn't know much about him at all. I'd never seen one of his YouTube videos until after he passed away, which is a shame because unbeknownst to me, he actually did shout out one of my YouTube videos a while back. I'm pretty sad that I never got to know Michael Brooks when he was alive because in his short 37 years of life, he shared some pretty good ideas, it turns out. One of those ideas was transcend and include. It's a philosophical concept. The basic idea of transcend and include is that our thinking should be integrational as opposed to exclusionary. Instead of looking at disagreements as a proposition of either or, we can and should be willing to examine different philosophical and ideological models objectively and, try to find good in ideas that differ from our own. According to this idea of transcend and include, when someone confronts you with new ideas which conflict with the ideas that you hold valuable, instead of immediately assuming that those ideas are totally wrong, you should use the following process as described in an article by Adam J. Pearson on the subject. Transcend and include and negate and destroy. Transcend the limitations, include the healthy, valuable, or partially true aspects, negate the unhealthy aspects, destroy, break down, or move beyond the boundaries that limit our thinking. Anyway, it's a pretty nifty philosophical approach that I think reflects the way I've tried to navigate political discussions for a few years now. There are good ideas everywhere, and we should steal them no matter where they come from. I'm telling you this because I'm about to say something about myself, and it might make you uncomfortable, but I hope you'll stick around and hear me out. I don't expect you to agree with everything I'm going to say, but I do hope you might try out this little philosophical approach of transcend and include maybe for the first time, and maybe you'll find some good ideas that you can incorporate into your personal philosophy, even if you don't agree with everything I have to say. So here goes. I'll just go ahead and say it. I am an anarchist. Now, this is a word that's been thrown around a lot the last couple of months, and frankly, I'm surprised by all the attention. I've been wallowing in obscurity as an anarchist YouTuber for 3 years now, and I never expected for us to become this relevant this quickly, but boy, have we become relevant fast. The mass media and government officials cannot seem to shut up about us.
We are now in the process of defeating the radical left, the Marxists, the anarchists.
So now I'm still wallowing in obscurity as an anarchist YouTuber, but I now have the added benefit of being labeled as a violent extremist by the President of the United States. So, bonus. Now, unless you're an anarchist yourself, I'm absolutely certain that you believe some things about me that just aren't true. You may believe, for instance, that I want to completely get rid of the government. You may think I want to burn down society and throw out all the rules and turn this planet into a chaotic hellscape like something you'd see in a Kevin Costner post-apocalypse movie. That's assuming you're old enough to know who Kevin Costner is, but like somebody with friggin' goggles and spiked hair and a leather jacket riding a horse or a friggin' jet ski, which does sound cool, but believe it or not, I don't actually want to live in a Kevin Costner post-apocalypse world. For one thing, I have, a thyroid condition and, male pattern balding. So I need, my thyroid medicine and my mail order Propecia that I get from India. I need things that society provides. So as much as I unironically love Kevin Costner post-apocalypse movies, I don't actually want to live in one. I actually like things like order and organization and civility and safety. I have been robbed before and I didn't like it. I've been physically assaulted before, wasn't a fan. I don't want to live in a world where bad people can just do whatever they want without consequences, and that's why, believe it or not, I became an anarchist. You see, in the society we live in right now, there are a lot of situations where bad people can just do whatever the hell they want without consequences. Some people have a lot of power over the rest of the people. Take, for instance, a crappy boss. Pretty much everyone has had a crappy boss, right? Haven't you worked in a company where you've had some manager or some supervisor or some business owner who just treated you like garbage? They made life hell for you and your coworkers. They were belligerent, they were incompetent, they cheated you, they didn't pay you enough, and you just thought to yourself, why does this person get to make all the rules? Why do I have to listen to this jerk? we anarchists, we have a word for that kind of situation. We call it a hierarchy. A hierarchy is a situation where one person has power over other people, and generally speaking, anarchists don't like hierarchies. In fact, that's kind of what we're all about. We don't like it when one person or group of people have arbitrary, unjust power over other people. In our opinions, for a hierarchy to justly exist, the hierarchy has to prove its worth. The burden of evidence is on the hierarchy to demonstrate its merit in society. Now, you might not think that the employer-employee relationship is an unjust hierarchy. You might think that this is a voluntary hierarchy where one person chooses to work for someone else in exchange for getting paid. I used to be a capitalist myself. I used to pay employees to work for me, and I had arbitrary power over their lives in ways that I now consider unjust. Today, I disagree that it's a voluntary relationship, especially in the context of like COVID-19, where you have millions of people who really don't want to go work for starvation wages at like Taco Bell or Hobby Lobby, but they're forced to because if they don't, they'll get kicked out on the street or starve during a pandemic. So basically, I don't think capitalism is a voluntary hierarchy, but I also don't expect to change your mind on that, at least not with this little video. So take it for what it is. We can agree to disagree for now. Let's talk about another hierarchical relationship. This is a relationship we might be more likely to see eye to eye about, and that is the relationship that I have with Trevor Noah. Yes, Trevor Noah, the current host of The Daily Show, the super liberal South African guy who makes fun of Donald Trump all the time. Now, Donald Trump and a lot of right-wing figures are currently trying to make the people of the USA believe that comedians like Trevor Noah and the Democratic Party leaders like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and billionaire liberals like George Soros have a lot in common with anarchists like me. But honestly, we are very, 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 very different. The anarchist philosophy is very, 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 very different from the philosophy that's espoused by mainstream Democrats and liberals like Trevor Noah, which is why one of the very first pieces of political anarchist writing that I ever put together was about Trevor Noah. I wrote a blog post way back in 2017, before I ever even had a YouTube channel, and in the article I explained how Trevor Noah disparaging Antifa enabled and empowered fascists. Yeah, something else you should probably know about me, I'm Antifa. Which is to say, I'm anti-fascist. I don't like fascism, not even a little bit. That's something else you might need to transcend and include, so I'll give you a second or two to let that sink in, process. Still with me? Great. Okay, so because I'm an anti-fascist, I really didn't appreciate Trevor Noah's Daily Show piece about Antifa in 2017, in which he referred to anti-fascist activists as vegan ISIS and made us out to be simultaneously geeky, pathetic, wimpy losers and violent thugs who just want to destroy things. I thought it was a pretty unfair and inaccurate portrayal of a movement that has defended communities against fascist violence since the 1930s. Again, maybe you aren't going to agree with everything I'm saying here. That's okay. If you have your own preconceived notions about Antifa, for now, please just try to set those aside. Agree to disagree if you possibly can. Just try to, transcend and include. I promise we're moving towards that common ground. I've had a problem with Trevor Noah for a while, but I was really stunned when I came across a short clip from a stand-up comedy act Trevor Noah performed way back in 2012, in which he took the side of South African police and justified the Mirakana strike massacre. Trevor Noah said it was perfectly acceptable for the police to gas and murder miners who were on strike in South Africa. To put it mildly, I found Trevor Noah's words to be reprehensible. I know that it was a stand-up comedy act. I know that people in the comments are probably going to say that I'm some kind of cancel culture person who's trying to cancel Trevor Noah for making jokes. To me, this went beyond comedy. The things that Trevor Noah said just actually disgusted me, and I didn't find them funny at all. I didn't see how, in any context, it would be appropriate to say the things that Trevor Noah said about gassing and murdering striking workers. The things about police violence, the things that I take very seriously and try to do what I can to fight against every day of my life. So seeing Trevor Noah say those things was disturbing to me. Now, am I saying we should cancel Trevor Noah or whatever? No, I think Trevor Noah should have an opportunity to, I mean, it was like 8 years ago. He should have an opportunity to address them, apologize for them if he wants to apologize for them, or explain them or whatever. But the fact is, he hasn't addressed these words at all. He's pretending that the video doesn't exist. So I brought this up in a political live stream that I do every Sunday night. It's called Breadcast. This was a couple weeks ago, and I talked about this Trevor Noah stand-up comedy act. And to illustrate the points that I was making, I showed portions of a brief 2-minute clip of Trevor Noah's stand-up comedy act from 2012, in which he made the remarks supporting the police murder of striking workers in Mirakana. Now, I need you to understand something. Me showing this short clip in the context of a political discussion in the midst of a political and educational commentary show was absolutely 100% legal. I did not break any laws because we have something called fair use. According to the Stanford University libraries, a fair use is any copying of copyrighted materials done for a limited and transformative purpose, such as to comment upon, criticize, or parody a copyrighted work. Such uses can be done without permission from the copyright owner. It has been well established that it is perfectly acceptable for artists, journalists, and creators like myself to show clips from copyrighted works for the purposes of commentary, and that it is illegal to abuse copyright law to try to stop someone from commenting on something in accordance with fair use. The most important criteria is that the use of the copyrighted material has to be transformative. It has to change the nature of the copyrighted content in some fundamental way, and it cannot be a market substitute. In other words, it can't somehow take money away from the original creators within the same market. So for instance, I couldn't just play an entire song from a Disney movie and then say, "Boy, that song sure was great, huh?" That doesn't really count as commentary, it's not transformative, and it becomes a market substitute because you're just listening to and enjoying the song, which theoretically is taking revenue away from Disney, I guess. You'd be enjoying the song on my YouTube video without Disney getting any of that sweet, sweet ad revenue that I get so much of. If I make a commentary video about how the lyrics of the song are politically relevant or have some other kind of literary meaning and played small portions of the song to punctuate the points that I'm making, that would be fair use. It would be transformative. You don't listen to the song to just enjoy it. It's not a market substitute. Disney isn't having to compete with my video as a music platform. Just like what I did with the Trevor Noah clip. I didn't play the entire stand-up comedy act. We weren't watching it to enjoy and laugh at. I wasn't serving a market substitute for Trevor Noah's stand-up comedy DVDs or downloads or however the hell he sells the stuff. I wasn't competing with Trevor Noah, and the work was transformative. It was being used in the context of a political, educational discussion. So anyway, sometimes people abuse this system and they make claims that their copyrighted material is being infringed upon even though they know it's a case of fair use. And the abuse of copyright law to suppress speech or make money is called copyright trolling, and it is rampant on YouTube because YouTube uses an automated copyright system that allows copyright holders to claim media and then requires YouTubers to dispute the claims. In other words, it is a system where you are guilty until proven innocent. Today, there are huge copyright claiming mills that do nothing all day but go around on YouTube looking for content to claim so they can take all the ad money. They don't check to see if it's fair use first. If they find the content, they claim it immediately. Happens on my channel all the time. In fact, sometimes when I use clips of historical speeches that are in the public domain, I will get copyright claimed by music companies who claim that I'm infringing on their copyright because some of the artists that they represent have sampled those speeches in their songs. And this is a clear abuse of the copyright system for monetary gain, and it pisses me off, but sometimes it gets even worse because sometimes it's not about money at all. Sometimes people abuse copyright law and YouTube's guilty until proven innocent copyright system because they want to suppress free speech. Now, this famously happened a few years back to a YouTuber named Ethan Klein, who runs the YouTube channel H3H3. Ethan made a commentary video in which he made fun of another YouTuber named Matt Haas. Matt Haas issued a copyright strike against Ethan Klein, and they ended up going to court. And after a long, expensive legal battle, court costs were in excess of $170,000, Klein won a landmark victory when the judge ruled that Klein's commentary was clearly an example of fair use. The judge, Catherine B. Forrest, wrote, "The key evidence in the record consists of the Klein and Haas videos themselves, and review of the Klein video leaves no doubt that it constitutes critical commentary of the Haas video. There's also no doubt that the Klein video is decidedly not a market substitute for the Haas video. For these and other reasons set forth below, defendants' use of clips from the Haas video constitutes fair use as a matter of law." So that brings us to my relationship with Trevor Noah. If you've been wondering why I haven't shown you any of the clips of Trevor Noah or my commentary on Trevor Noah yet, it's because Trevor Noah is a friggin' copyright troll, and he's the worst kind of copyright troll. He isn't trolling for money, he is trolling to suppress speech. You see, a couple of days after my live stream, in which I commented on Trevor Noah's stand-up comedy act, in full compliance with fair use, mind you, Trevor Noah's personally owned company, Archangel Productions, issued a copyright strike against my channel. Now, just so you know, there are different ways to kind of attack a channel for copyright violation. You could just do a copyright claim, and in a copyright claim, the videos will stay online, but then the other company will just get all or a portion of the money from ad revenues for that video. But a copyright strike is the highest level of attack a company can make for copyright abuse or alleged abuse, because during a copyright strike, a channel is unable to live stream on YouTube, possibly ever again. This is happening to me right now. I am unable to live stream right now because of this copyright strike. And this copyright strike was issued manually by Trevor Noah's media manager, shitty comedian Lance Patrick. So understand this. This was not an automated copyright claim by some behemoth company like Viacom or Comedy Central, where I just got caught up in the merciless churning of the algorithm and the robots. No, this was a situation where a human being, shitty comedian Lance Patrick, working directly for Trevor Noah's personal company, manually pushed a button to copyright strike my channel. And guess what? I'm not alone. This has happened many times before for the same fair use of the same video. I've heard from Dusty Smith, who runs the channel Cult of Dusty, as well as a couple of other YouTubers who didn't want to be named in this video, that their channels also received copyright strikes for commenting on this very same video in the same manner. They were manually claimed by shitty comedian Lance Patrick of Archangel Productions, even though the context and use of the clip was absolutely undeniably fair use. That means that Lance Patrick, the shitty comedian, sat down and watched the clip, saw the context, had to know that it was fair use, and manually struck us anyway. Cult of Dusty had to get in contact with shitty comedian Lance Patrick and agree to delete the video in order to have the strike removed. I've been emailing shitty comedian Lance Patrick for over a week now and heard nothing back. So this clearly means that shitty comedian Lance Patrick and Trevor Noah, through their company Archangel Productions, are actively trying to suppress this specific video. They don't want people commenting on it. They don't want people discussing it. He's just pretending it never happened. He's trying to sweep it under the rug. He's hoping he can make it disappear off the internet entirely by abusing copyright law. My only recourse is to issue a counter notification on YouTube stating that I believe that this use of this video was in fair use and demanding that Archangel Productions cancel their copyright strike. And this gives Archangel Productions up to 14 business days to file a lawsuit against me. If they sue me, we would settle it in court. If they do not sue me within the 14 business days, then YouTube will cancel the copyright strike and everything will go back to normal. So now I'm just sitting here without the ability to live stream, at the mercy of Trevor Noah and his manager, shitty comedian Lance Patrick. And this is where we get to the common ground I'm hoping to find with you. Now, I've said a lot of things in this video that I know you are likely to disagree with, but I trust you will agree with me when I say this. Every human being should have equal protection under the law. Nobody should be able to evade the law or get away with hurting other people just because they have more money. I'm pretty sure you agree with that, right? You wouldn't want a murderer to go free because they have $1 billion, would you? Now, I know that this little copyright situation I'm in is a lot less horrifying than a murder, but it's still an incredibly unjust situation where one person has tremendous power to harm and abuse other people without any consequences. See, I messaged YouTube technical support to tell them I was unfairly copyright struck, that this is a pattern of behavior of copyright trolling, and they said there's nothing they can do about it at all. I asked them if I can complain about a company abusing copyright law to suppress speech, and they sent me to a form I could fill out to contact the legal department. And they didn't reply for a while until they finally did, and it was a robot automated reply that proved that they had not actually read it. Seriously, they had a robot read my letter to the legal department, and the robot emailed me back with some nonsense. And I emailed back and I said, please go back and actually read my message. And they replied with some more nonsense from a robot. And I emailed them again and I said, please, will a human being read my message? And they just never replied again. So I've tweeted at YouTube countless times, at Team YouTube. They don't care. There's just no recourse for me. There is no path to justice. Trevor Noah can go on copyright striking this video, even though it's against the law, and nothing is going to happen to him or shitty comedian Lance Patrick or their shell company, Archangel Productions. And this is what anarchists are talking about when we talk about an unjust hierarchy. Because Trevor Noah can copy strike any channel he wants anytime anyone comments on this video in accordance with fair use. And then we, the creators who are using it in accordance with fair use, who are expressing our freedom of speech, we just have to take it. We just have to wait for the calendar to run out. And now I can't stream for 3 weeks because of this. And let me tell you, streaming is a good chunk of my personal income. I make about $100 a week streaming, and I use this money to pay for my groceries and my bills. I don't really make that much money. I'm not complaining. I'm not like poor. I'm not destitute, but I'm certainly not rich. I really need this streaming income to survive. It's a big deal for me to lose almost an entire month of streaming income, not to mention the damage it does to me algorithmically and all those other associated problems. But that's not even what really upsets me. What really upsets me is that I had planned and scheduled with several Black and Indigenous activists a series of panels where we were going to talk about some of the important stuff that's going on recently. And now I've had to postpone those panels because of this. I was going to participate in a charity fundraising stream this weekend with Softboy Social Club, great channel, check them out and subscribe. But according to YouTube's terms of service, I can't be on YouTube at all as long as this copyright strike is in effect in any live stream. So Trevor Noah is preventing me from platforming Black and Indigenous voices and from raising money for fundraising charities, and it's all because he doesn't want people to see this clip of him standing up for the police for murdering 50 striking workers in Mirakana. There is a link to that video, by the way, in full in the description. It's on Vimeo. You can watch it right now, but maybe wait till the end of the video. Trevor Noah has $40 million. He has a massive audience. He wouldn't even notice it if he lost $400 in a month. And the most ironic thing of all is that he uses fair use all the time on The Daily Show. He comments on videos all the time, and he uses fair use to be able to do that. But he has a massive team of lawyers to make sure he doesn't have these kinds of problems ever. He has the money to hire shitty comedian Lance Patrick to manage his media and go around copyright striking channels. I can't afford to pay somebody else to deal with this. I've got to deal with it all by myself. It takes hours to go and fill out all these claims and talk to all these robots and counter notifications. And I'm not a lawyer, but Trevor Noah, he probably has a whole team of lawyers working for him. And this, again, is an unjust hierarchy. This is a situation where some people have to follow the law and follow the rules and others don't. If you're Trevor Noah, you can abuse copyright law all you want. You can strike videos that you know are in compliance with fair use, and no harm will ever come to you. If you're a broke-ass anarchist YouTuber like me, you are at the mercy of a massive corporate platform and a legal system that do not care about anything you say, and a multi-millionaire TV star who has no scruples about deplatforming and ruining an entire month for a small-time content creator like me. Now, technically, I guess I could sue Trevor Noah, but that would be very difficult to do because I would have to prove malicious intent, which is not an easy thing to do. It's very easy for Trevor Noah to just say, oh, I'm just trying to protect my copyright. I didn't realize it was fair use. There was no malice involved. And, you know, it's basically a my word against Trevor Noah's word kind of situation. And not only that, but it would also be expensive. Because as we saw with Ethan Klein, you know, he had to spend almost $200,000 for his court case. I don't have $200,000, but you know who does have hundreds of thousands of dollars lying around ready to throw at lawyers without thinking about it too much? Trevor friggin' Noah. Now, I could possibly get some sort of justice from the Streisand effect by getting my audience to tag Trevor Noah and Lance Patrick and YouTube on Twitter demanding that they right this wrong, which I've done. And 5 or 6 people did. But considering that Trevor Noah has over 10 million followers on Twitter and gets thousands of tweets sent his way per day, I doubt that we've made much of a dent, sadly. I just don't have the platform size to compete with his. So really there's nothing I can do. I'm just screwed. And basically, Trevor Noah has free license to abuse copyright law and prevent anyone and everyone from ever discussing or commenting on this clip. And if there's one thing I hope you can agree with anarchists about, it's this. These kinds of hierarchies should not exist. It is unjust for one person to have this kind of power over other people. Our legal system and these giant corporate platforms should give everyone an equal voice and equal opportunities. I shouldn't be barred from streaming and making income and platforming other creators because a millionaire alleges that I might have infringed copyright with absolutely no opportunity for recourse or justice on my end, except for the option to wait around for the clock to strike out while I'm voiceless for 3 weeks. There is no value placed on freedom of speech or the value of words being presented. There is no jury of my peers in this situation. There is nothing but a giant corporate platform that gives all of the benefit of the doubt to giant multimillionaires and corporations and the people who are going around copyright trolling. We have very little recourse. People's careers have been ruined over this before. People have lost their channels over this many times. You know, people have lost a lot of money. It's an unjust hierarchical system where little folks like us have absolutely no recourse against these giants. And look, I know that there are worse things happening in the world right now. I don't expect you to care about me and my petty little problems with Trevor Noah, but if there's one thing that I can leave you with, it is this. Most of the bad things that are happening out there in the world are the result of unjust hierarchies. Anytime a child starves, anytime a person with mental illness is homeless, anytime an innocent, unarmed person is murdered by the police, you will find that it is ultimately the result of some kind of unjust hierarchy. And if you agree with me that unjust hierarchies should not exist, then guess what? That means that you're an anarchist just like me, because dismantling unjust hierarchies, identifying these unjust hierarchies, and trying to pull them apart, that is what anarchism is all about. Basically what I'm trying to say is, you're an anarchist too. Transcend and include that, motherfuckers! I'm American Johnson, this is Not Gonna Be. Thank you so much for watching. If you happen to be Trevor Noah, f you. If you're Lance Patrick, you are a shitty comedian. See you next week.
Let's all watch Billy and Herb and the chemistry set, and perhaps we'll learn some things about fair play. As you see this story, we want you to think about questions. Questions such as, what is fair play? Perhaps when the story is over, you'll want to talk about the... Now let's see what Herb's doing. He starts with 2 clear legs. Ah! It would be fun to do experiments like that, but Herb isn't going to let Billy try. Billy wants his dad to make Herb let him do it. He says Herb's not fair. To play fair, when should we share things? How do we decide whose turn it is? Should we respect the property of other people? What should we do to make up for our mistakes? What is fair play?